is their level of advice or their level of concerns with the way that they're able to articulate it, they being the patient populations that you serve,
Yeah.
are you finding that you're getting uh, more meaty recommendations from patients in today's world? You know, here in the U.S. and certainly around the globe, I think that as an industry, we are getting so much better at engaging patients early on. And of course, as patients must be much smarter and capable health consumers, they're having to bolster their way of interacting with the health system differently. And I'm wondering how much you're seeing that in your process of developing new guidelines. What are we learning more and better from patients today than maybe we did 10 years ago?
Yeah, so we've actually done this big piece of work recently where we've looked at how we engage patients in our guideline development. So what I was talking about before is how we develop new methods, which is, you know, that happens only once or twice every 5 years. But now, if you're talking about every medicine we look at or every guideline we produce, patients or lay people are involved in two ways. We have lay members of our committees who make the decisions, and then we have patient experts who participate in the conversation and the kind of giving of evidence to the committee. And that we've had for many, many years. I think the thing that we've been reflecting on recently is that what patients are saying to us about working with our committees is that, one, the complexity of evidence and the statistical analyses and the length of papers is becoming quite onerous, so that I think all of us involved in health economics and outcomes research need to focus much more on pithy summaries, plain English language description of concepts, etc. So that's one thing. The second thing that we're learning more about is that patients tell us a lot when they speak to us about a specific medicine. But what they've told us is something that we can use again and again and again. For example, we could use it in a guideline. We could use it in selecting a topic for a digital therapeutic. So they've said to us, we want you to use our advice multiple times. You know, don't just use it on one medicine. So there's something about kind of collecting intelligence and reusing it and getting the themes across multiple pieces of guidance that I think we need to do much more of. And then the third thing that they have said to us is we want you to be flexible about the way you let us speak to committees. You know, many of us have got jobs. We can't be sitting there for 8 hours at your committee meeting and read the 500 pages. So, you know, can we pre-record things? Can we join virtually? So I think that's a long way of me saying we've had a very, you know, patient involvement has very, very deeply rooted in NICE from the start. So that the level of kind of involvement and the insight we get from patients has been there for many, many years. I think what we're learning from patients now is that we can get even more value from the advice they give us by applying it across multiple topics, by making sure that they can engage in ways that are more convenient for them.
And I assume more understandable for them as well.
And more understandable for them, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. That is such a fascinating development, I think, for public guideline developers to really think about how that last stage of the research process, the communication, that we really have a level of responsibility to communicate this appropriately, well, and interactively with patients.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is something we feel so deeply about because we're lucky to not only look at medicines, but we also look at devices, diagnostics, and digital products. And create clinical guide. We're the national clinical guidelines creator. So one of the things that's on our mind is the future is going to be exactly as you say, Patti, way more involved, way more self-care, patients directing their care from home. So we need to think about patients and their carers and their families as one of our primary audiences. And so we need to not only involve them in the process, which we have for many years, but we need to make our decisions and communicate our decisions in a way that is understandable for the average patient or carer or family member. And I think there is a lot for us to do because we write for the medical audience.
Mhm.
And so sometimes our advice can be a bit like a thicket for
Mhm.
patients. And we think there's a big opportunity here to work with community groups who are real experts
Yeah.
in crafting communications for patients,
Mhm.
to make sure that we do that last bit of the transmission much better.